Namaskar, I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive, interesting and informative session. You are watching us on PME Vidya channels from 9 to 12 and also on our YouTube channel NCERT Official. Well, this session is presented by Department of Education in Science and Mathematics NCERT. This is our special webinar series titled Listening to Learn, यानी सुने और सीखें, and today we are in the 91st edition of this webinar series where we have taken up a very interesting topic of discussion. We will be discussing about 1971 war, daring operations of Indian Navy. जी हाँ, 1971 का युद्ध, भारतीय नौसेना के साहसिक अभियान. और आप इस सेशन का हिस्सा बन सकते हैं. यू कैन गिव अस अ कॉल, यू कैन राइट एन ईमेल टू अस और यू कैन मैसेज अस डायरेक्टली. तो अगर आप हमें कॉल करना चाहते हैं, एक्सपर्ट से अपनी कोई भी बात पूछना चाहते हैं, प्लीज कॉल अस ऑन 8800440559. ये है हमारा फोन नंबर. If you wish to write an email to us with your suggestions, feedback, anything that you would like to share or anything that you want us to introduce in these sessions, please write to us on ddh.class12@ciet.nic.in. साथ ही मैं आपको बता दूं that you are watching us live right now on our YouTube channel NCERT Official. तो आप comment section में जाके भी अपने questions, suggestions instantly हमें भेज सकते हैं और हमसे connect कर सकते हैं. So ये सेशन बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है. We are going to come across some really amazing facts. लेकिन इसके लिए हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं हमारे दो एक्सपर्ट्स. मैं आपको उनसे ज़रूर इंट्रोड्यूस कराऊंगी, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं आपको बता दूं that under this webinar series हमने बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग सेशंस किए हैं. अगर आप उन सेशंस को देखना चाहते हैं then you have to visit the link ncert.nic.in/webinar_series.php. ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन आपकी स्क्रीन पर फ्लैश हो रही है, तो आप इसे कभी भी नोट कर सकते हैं. And now it's time for me to introduce you all to the man who is behind this entire initiative. जी हाँ, Dr. Gagan Gupta from DESM NCERT. Let's welcome him. सर नमस्कार, स्वागत है आपका.
नमस्कार हरप्रीत, थैंक यू वेरी मच. सादर प्रणाम दोस्तों. आज हम 91st सेशन में हैं. अगस्त 2021 में हमने इस प्रोग्राम को स्टार्ट किया था, जब हमारे कोलैबोरेशन में CSIR इंडिया और नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन इंडिया थे. आज भी वो हमारे साथ इस कोलैबोरेशन में लगातार सतत रूप से बने हुए हैं. हमने इस सीरीज़ में हेल्थ से जुड़े हुए विषयों पर बात की है, युद्धों से जुड़े हुए विषयों पर बात की है. हम ब्रेन की सैर कराई है, आपको दिल की सैर कराई है, दिमाग की सैर कराई है, इन विट्रो फर्टिलाइजेशन के ऊपर बात की है, बैटरीज आगे आने वाले दिनों में किस तरह की बनने वाली हैं, इस सब पर बात की है. इंडियाज़ न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम, इंडियाज़ स्पेस प्रोग्राम, आदित्य L1 मिशन और इस सब साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी से जुड़े हुए मुख्तलिफ विषयों पर हमने बहुत बात की है. दोस्तों, इसके साथ साथ हमने यदा कदा अब थोड़े से अलग भी हुए हैं और हमने एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और बिजनेस पर भी बात की है, सोशल एक्टिविस्ट पर भी बात की है. आज का जो प्रोग्राम है, जैसा मेरी साथी हरप्रीत ने बताया कि 1971 वार, इंडो पाक वार के ऊपर है. और आज मेरे साथ मेरे दोस्त कमांडो डॉक्टर श्रीकांत बी केसनूर साहब हैं. अभी मैं आपकी मुलाकात कराऊंगा. डॉक्टर केसनूर, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे इस शो में. हम धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करते हैं डॉक्टर केसनूर का और इंडियन नेवी का कि हमारे साथ NCERT के साथ इस प्रोग्राम के लिए कोलैबोरेशन में आए हैं. और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि ये कोलैबोरेशन आगे के आने वाले दिनों में भी लगातार बना रहेगा. साथियों, सितंबर 2023 में हमने लगभग एक साल पहले हमने एक प्रोग्राम किया था. डॉक्टर अश्विंदर सिंह बहल हमारे साथ थे, जिन्होंने की स्टोरी ऑफ वेपन्स पर बात की थी. और आपको याद होगा, जिन्होंने की एंशिएंट टाइम से लेकर और कारगिल युद्ध तक जिस तरह के वेपन्स यूज़ हुए युद्धों में, उन सब के ऊपर बात की थी. आपको याद होगा कि उन्होंने कॉकपिट से अंदर खींचे हुए वीडियोस हमें दिखाए थे. आज उसी क्रम में आपको याद होगा कि अक्टूबर 2023 में जब हमारे साथ राजीव महाजन थे, तब उन्होंने भी इस युद्धों से जुड़े हुए और वारफेयर के साथ साथ जुड़े हुए टेक्निकल इश्यूज़ के ऊपर बात की थी. ये सारे इश्यूज़, ये सारे के सारे सेशंस आप हमारे ncert.nic.in की वेबसाइट पर, हमारी वेबसाइट पर आप इवेंट सेक्शन में जाएं, वहाँ पर आपको ये सारे सेशन मिलेंगे. आप ये दोनों सेशन जो मैंने आपको अभी बताए, जो कि एक सितंबर 2023 में अश्विंदर सिंह बहल और दूसरा राजीव महाजन, जो अक्टूबर 2023 के हैं, आप इनको ज़रूर देखें और आज के इस प्रोग्राम को उसी क्रम में अगला मानें। आज पिछले कुछ दिनों से हम समुंदर के साथ रहे हैं, हर्ष गुप्ता हमारे साथ थे, एक बार फिर से वो हमारे साथ होंगे दिसंबर के आखिर में, लेकिन अभी हम समुंदर की यात्रा कर रहे हैं। आज फिर से समुंदर से जुड़ा हुआ इंडियन नेवी पर आज हमारा कंटेंट है। पिछली बार कोरल रीफ्स पर था जब इरफान मेरे साथ थे अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी से, उन्होंने भी समुंदर की बात की थी। आगे आने वाले दिनों में भी हम समुंदर की बात करेंगे। 20 दिसंबर हमारे लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट दिन है, जिसमें कि हमारे साथ कैप्टन NS मोहन रान साहब होंगे, जो कि इंडियन नेवल आर्किटेक्चर के ऊपर बहुत अच्छे विद्वान हैं और हमें बताएंगे शिप बिल्डिंग और नेवल आर्किटेक्चर के ऊपर। तो इन सारे सेशंस के लिए आप हमारे साथ साथ बने रहिए दोस्तों। और अगर आप चाहते हैं कि हम आपके सुझाए हुए विषयों पर कुछ प्रोग्राम आयोजित करें, तो आप, मेरी साथी हरप्रीत ने जैसे आपको ईमेल एड्रेस बताए, आप उन ईमेल एड्रेसेस पर अपने हमें सुझाव ज़रूर दें। आपके सुझाव हमें लगातार इस प्रोग्राम को बनाए रखने में और आगे लगातार सतत रूप से कार्य करने के लिए बहुत सहायक हैं और हम आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करते हैं। साथियों, अब मेरे साथ मैं आपकी मुलाकात कराऊंगा जल्दी से। मेरे साथ मेरे दोस्त कमांडोर डॉक्टर श्रीकांत केसनूर साहब हैं। केसनूर साहब, आपका एक बार पुनः बहुत बहुत स्वागत है कि आप हमारे स्टूडियो में हैं। दोस्तों, डॉक्टर कमांडोर डॉक्टर श्रीकांत केसनूर बहुत आइडेंटिफाइड और बहुत डेकोरेटेड नेवी ऑफिसर्स हैं, नेवी हिस्टोरियन हैं। एंड ही इज कमांडोर श्रीकांत केसनूर, an alumnus of the prestigious National Defence Academy. In fact, he has been a student from the Sainik School Bijapur, which has led to get the entry into National Defence Academy, and he was commissioned in Indian Navy in July 1986. In his 36 years long career, he has had extensive experience in maritime operations, training and professional military education, leadership, diplomacy and communication. Dr. Kesnur has been the captain of 2 frontline ships, an anti-submarine frigate INS Vidyagiri and India's biggest amphibious ship INS Jalshava, and in addition his tours of duty have witnessed several important assignments, prestigious courses and interesting tenures at sea and ashore both. His other important appointments include being the defence advisor at the High Commissioner of India based in Nairobi, Kenya during October 2008 to March 2012 with Kenya, Tanzania, Seychelles, Rhodesia and Somalia as his area of responsibility, as well as being faculty and dean of studies at different times at the National Defence Academy, Pune, at Defence Service Staff College, Wellington, Cochin, and at the Naval War College, Goa. He has a PhD from the University of Mumbai, and very interestingly, apart from his PhD from Mumbai, he is having 5 postgraduate degrees in science and social sciences. Very distinguished learner. Dr. Kesnur has also been the director of Maritime Warfare Center, Mumbai, and in addition, also the officer in charge of the Naval History Project. Dr. Kesnur has been the lead writer and chief editor of 12 books, monographs and many journals for the Indian Navy. He has been involved with the several academic, creative and corporate outreach endeavors of the Indian Navy. He has been conferred with the Vishisht Seva Medal VSM in the Presidential Awards in 2021 for distinguished services of high order. After his superannuation in 2022, Commodore Kesnur has dedicated himself to the cause of spreading maritime awareness in the country through teaching, writing, talk shows and public lectures, video programs and cinema. He describes himself as a maritime evangelist. We are fortunate having Dr. Kesnur with us in our studio. Welcome once again. So it's all yours, Dr. Kesnur, please.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Dr. Gupta. Thank you, Harpreet ji.
Thank you.
Good morning, namaskar to all my young friends watching this show. It is a delight, an honor and privilege for me to be here today because like it was told by Dr. Gupta, I grew up studying in Sainik School. My parents have been teachers and my own education has been through the CBSE, which follows the NCERT books. So I believe that this is a honor and privilege for me to come here and spend some time with NCERT and to be able to spread a little bit about maritime issues and talk about maritime knowledge. And today we will be doing about the Indian Navy in the 1971 war and how it was daring. And I have particularly brought this out. My young friends, all the people who are watching this, because हम जब पूछते हैं कि Army 71 war, who was leading it, many of you will say General Manekshaw straight away. But if I ask you who led the Navy during the 71 war, very few of us would know. That is the thing. The Navy is often called as a silent service. We don't know what it does from the sea and at the sea. And if I tell you that the Navy played a big role in 71 war, many of you may not know. So I thought that this would be a brilliant opportunity, particularly because इस हफ्ते से हम Navy Week में जा रहे हैं. Navy Week starts celebration from 1st of December and it celebrates and commemorates our achievements in the 71 war. So I think this is a perfect opportunity and I would like to thank the NCERT once again for giving me this opportunity to speak. Now, young children, ladies, gentlemen, before I do that, very quickly एक झलक दूंगा कि Navy क्या करती है, because you need that before we go into the 71 war. Very quickly you must know this, that India has a very, very long maritime history. It begins with the Sindhu Saraswati civilization or the Harappan civilization, 2500 BC. That means about 4,500 years ago. The first tidal dock in the world was in Lothal near Ahmedabad. Uske baad continuously right through the Indus Valley or the Sindhu Saraswati, the Vedic period, and then with different empires right up to the Cholas, we are having constant sources, reference, seafaring dynasty, shipbuilding. Matlab, India was a very big seafaring nation with maritime exchanges all over the world. आज का जो हम Indo-Pacific बोलते हैं, from west coast of Africa, from the Persian Gulf, coast of Arabia, right up to Japan and Korea, we had exchanges. So we had this glorious maritime heritage where India was in the center. But तकरीबन 13th century के बाद we neglected the seas. And because of that, you know what happened 2 or 3 centuries later, the colonials came, and remember, we were colonized through the seas. We must not forget that. Halaki, even during the colonial times, the great Kunnali Marakkars, Rani Abbakka, and above all the Marathas put up a valiant resistance at and from the sea to colonial times. So, isse jahir hai, history gives us lot of lessons about our contact and connection with the sea, but we must remember, therefore, the abiding lesson is we must never turn our backs to the sea. We must never have sea blindness. From there we come to what does Indian Navy do? Now remember, we are not merely to defend the territorial integrity. That is of course there. We defend the coast, but we defend our maritime interests all over the world. Which means wherever there is a maritime issue, चाहे वो Antarctica हो या Indian diaspora कहीं फंस गया हो, the Indian Navy is usually the first responder. We also provide security to a lot of other nations in the Indian Ocean region in a mutually collaborative framework. Remember children, almost all our trade, more than 90% comes from the seas, and trade is the lifeblood of economy. So Navy also contributes to keeping safe seas. So we contribute to economy, we contribute to ecology, we contribute to science and technology. और ये हर एक चीज जो है एक अलग लेक्चर बन सकता है, बट उसके बारे में हम बाद में बात करेंगे. So basically I just want to give this, that the Navy is a force for good, it is a force for nation building. So what has happened with the Indian Navy? Interesting. Unlike the Indian Army and Air Force, with no disrespect to them, who had certain amount of strength at independence, the Indian Navy was very, very small. It was truncated. we had just half a dozen sloops, chote jahaj. From there we have become one of the largest, the biggest in the world. There has been massive all-round growth. We have been formidable in being surface forces. We have operating submarines for more than 50 years. We fly aircraft from our aircraft carriers. Above all, we have been making in India for the longest time, and I'll dwell on that a little, and we have achieved missions across the spectrum. तो कहने की बात ये है कि Indian Navy has silently been doing well and grown up to become one of the most respected navies in the world. Now look at this. These are 4 ships, beautiful looking ships, all of them made in India, designed by naval planners. You know, so our ships are amongst the best in the world today, and we've been making in India. We've been making in India since 1960, और धीरे धीरे उभरता हुआ we started making great ships. And look at this now. 2 years ago in September 22, that is the aircraft carrier Vikrant. You know, so if a country can make aircraft carriers, if a country can build nuclear submarines as we are building, then we have achieved the highest peaks of shipbuilding excellence. And we must remember that the Indian Navy has been a pioneer in making in India. Now let's come very quickly to some military operations. Again, I want to tell you before coming to 71 that the Indian Navy has been busy right from 1947 October, Junagadh in Liberation Goa, 1965 Operation Pavan in Sri Lanka, Cactus in Maldives, Somalia, Bolster and Shield and Muffet, of Vijay Kargil War, Parakram, and more recently counter piracy, so many other operations. Again, all of this can become a separate lesson in itself. These are some images of Operation Pavan, our peace support operation in Sri Lanka between 87 to 90. कहने की ये बात है कि हम नेवी को साइलेंट सर्विस बोलते हैं क्योंकि इट ऑपरेट्स बियॉन्ड द हॉराइजन, पर आप एक बात ध्यान में रखिए कि नेवी हमेशा सीज को प्रोटेक्ट करती है, हमारे इंटरेस्ट को डिफेंड करती है, and we are there in all of these operations. That is why in 1989 Time magazine had this cover of India as the military power, and remember they put a ship on the cover. This is the INS Khukri which was built in India. So a ship is a currency of power. I told you about contribution to science and technology. Please remember that one of the biggest scientists in the world, Dr. Paul Raj, who is a known name in IT and communication, who is the founder of technology called MIMO, multiple input, multiple output. He is a retired Navy officer, Commodore. He is today a big man in America, and MIMO is the heart of 4G and 5G which runs our smartphones. तो अगर आप हम स्मार्टफोन यूज कर रहे हैं आज, तो ये इसलिए है क्योंकि एक रिटायर्ड नेवी ऑफिसर ने उसके ऊपर बहुत काम किया, और उनका काम उस वक्त शुरू हुआ 71 वॉर के बाद, after the loss of Khukri. I will tell you about that later. So in a sense, what I am trying to tell you before I come to our actual topic is that the Navy is multidimensional and it operates across several fronts at the same time. Having given this brief introduction, let me now come to the 71 war. And we call it the Indian Navy's finest hour. Why? It has its little genesis in 65 war. In 65 war, we were given a defensive role and we were told कि don't cross पोरबंदर latitude. और उस वक्त पाकिस्तान ने आके द्वारका पे एक छोटा सा गन रेड किया, हालांकि उसमें कुछ नहीं हुआ, नो नॉट ए सिंगल पर्सन डाइड, देयर वाज नो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर लॉस, बट पाकिस्तान नेवी ग्लोटेड अबाउट दिस. और इंडियन नेवी को बहुत बुरा लगा क्योंकि उस वक्त भी हमारा नारा था कि कराची चलो. So because of that, we said if we get one more chance, we will teach the Pakistan people a lesson, and that chance came in 71 and we did fantastically. We operated in both the seas, the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. We totally choked West Pakistan and East Pakistan, cut off all escape routes, transportation करने नहीं दिया, aircraft carrier operations किया, anti submarine operations किया, submarine operations किया, मतलब जो नेवी के full fledged जो सब full domain operations जिसको हम बोलते हैं. And remember, if you had more than 90,000 prisoners of war at surrender, it was because we locked the escape route from sea, otherwise they would have escaped from sea. So the decisive outcome of war was facilitated by the Indian Navy, and that is why you had Admiral Krishnan, the person in left corner, who was the Commander-in-Chief of Eastern Naval Command, at this surrender photograph. Now, let me go a little bit more into detail. How did all of this play out? So, all of you know, or you know the geopolitical situation. I will not tell more about it. Right since the end of 1970 तनाव बढ़ रहा था ईस्ट पाकिस्तान में, बांग्लादेश लोगों को वेस्ट पाकिस्तान was not giving due recognition, armed forces were readying for war, training for war. What did the Navy do? The Navy planned very well. Please see the two wings of Pakistan, East and West Pakistan. The only way they were connected was by the sea. The air route was blocked, they couldn't fly over India. So, the Navy said the sea route, which is free, in the event of a war, we will block it completely. So, we will not allow West Pakistan to support or reinforce East Pakistan in any way. And we went from the offensive right from the beginning. शुरू से हमने हमला कर दिया, and we choked Pakistan both from seaward, and we denied build up in the east. And how we did that, we will talk a bit more. What did we do on the west? We attacked the citadel. We went from the jugular, we went for the jugular, attacked the citadel of Pakistan, Karachi. Okay. So, on the 4th December, just then ladai shuru hua, it started on the 3rd night. They were daring attack by missile boats. On the 4th December, 3 missile boats attacked, sunk or damaged many ships. Destroyer Khyber, Minesweeper, Muhafiz, Venus Challenger, a ship that was carrying ammunition, and hit the Kemari oil refinery, जिसमें वो काफी सारा आग उसमें हो गया. Now, we followed that on the 8th of December with Operation Python. It was one ship but with 4 missiles. It was called Vinash, prophetically named. It sunk and damaged ships, and it further hit the refinery, and the refinery went up in a blaze. Now, because of these 2 attacks, ladies and gentlemen, young children, Pakistan Navy just stopped sailing. They said, अंदर आ जाओ, de-ammunition करो, हमारा शस्त्र और अस्त्र निकाल के, वो बैठ गए वहाँ पे. 4 दिन, in 4 days of war, and they almost gave up. This is the kind of physical and psychological damage that the Indian Navy caused. Now, what was great about this, ladies and gentlemen, is this: these missile boats were very small. They had, in some part, had to be towed some way. Nobody had expected. They were meant for defense, local defense. ऐसे छोटे जहाज को वहाँ दूर लेके missiles को use करके, so it was daring innovation. It was daring by people. They had small crew of 30 or 35 people, and it was that crew that went and caused this great attack. So, it was daring, it was courage exhibited by the Navy. This photograph shows you the missile being loaded. These are the sort of missiles that were attacking. So, if I show you, this is the kind of ship. See how small ship it is, and this, if you can see through the mouse, are the 2. This is the Python, the Trident raid initially hugging the coast, and you see Python was a surprise. We attacked from the other direction. So, we followed principles of war, offensive action and surprise. So, that is why the Karachi attack, I think, is considered one of the greatest, not just in Indo-Pakistan scenario, but globally as one of the greatest sort of naval, campaigns or missions. Which is why you have this fantastic photograph like this of, the commanding officers happily posing with a Pakistan flag after the war. So, what I will do now, we will show you a picture, a small video of what transpired then.
It was the midnight of the 7th of September 1965 when Pakistan undertook an ineffective sneak attack on the port city of Dwarka. Although this brief war did not see any significant naval action, it left an indelible mark on the sands of time and thereby led to a search for maritime solutions. The Indian Navy was offered a variety of military hardware, including the Osa-class missile boats from Russia. Having understood the potential of these missile boats, 8 of them were acquired through a deal with the Soviet Union, bringing forth a new era. Thus, the new 25th Missile Boat Squadron came into being in 1971. Soon after its raising, the newly formed squadron with hand-picked crews trained hard in Russia. Learning the ropes and honing their skills, they became the legendary game changers of the 1971 Indo-Pak War.
The Pakistan Air Force suddenly struck at our airfields in Amritsar, Pathankot, Srinagar, Avantipur, Uttarlai, Jodhpur, Ambala and Agra.
Armed with pioneering missile technology of that era, the OSA crews executed in top secrecy one of the most daring naval assaults ever witnessed in maritime history. During this war, the 25th Missile Boat Squadron destroyed multiple enemy ships and decimated Pakistani coastal targets.
Pakistan has committed an unprovoked aggression against us, and our defense forces have been ordered to meet this challenge with full courage and determination. My objective is to search and destroy Pakistani warships, and along with sister services, to inflict maximum damage on the enemy war machines. No sacrifice should be too much for us. Let us write a new chapter in the history of our services.
The squadron played a stellar role in concluding the war with absolutely no loss. Spectacular victories of Operation Trident and Operation Python had now earned the squadron's name, the Killers. A legacy was born. The Killer Squadron has changed in form and structure, from the OSA 1 to OSA 2 to the Durg-class missile boats. In October 1991, the unit witnessed the redesignation of Captain K-25 as Captain K-22 with a newly formed 22nd Missile Vessel Squadron comprising of the 1241 Aries and then the present-day Veer and Prabal-class missile vessels of the current Killer Squadron.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Very inspiring.
Thank you. Isn't it inspiring?
Yes.
So basically, ladies and gentlemen, and young future leaders of our country, I wanted to tell you this interesting thing. The Killers have given way to new squadron now. They are a new generation of ships, but the legacy and tradition continues. Every year they meet and they have something called the Killers Night. In fact, this year's Killers Night was celebrated in Mumbai just 2 days ago on the 27th, and where they honor veterans of the 71 war, and in addition, sort of resolve to carry forward the tradition of courage and other attributes that characterize the killers of the 71 war. Now let us go and change geography to east, to the Bay of Bengal. Please remember that this was in some ways the decisive theatre of war, because it was the liberation of Bangladesh that India was seeking to do. Now very cleverly, what the Indian naval top leadership did is that they placed the aircraft carrier Vikrant in the east. Vikrant was based in Mumbai, but the naval leadership took this decision to shift Vikrant to east. Eastern Fleet was formed just a few days before the war on the 1st of November 1971 war, and the aircraft carrier along with these Eastern Fleet units, they carried out relentless attacks on East Pakistan ports using the carrier aircraft wing, the Seahawks and Elysees, which were the aircraft mounted on the aircraft carrier. Now the aircraft carrier, please remember, just few months before that, it had been having certain problems with its boilers, which was not giving sufficient speed. If you don't have sufficient speed, you can't launch your aircraft, because an aircraft carrier requires a certain amount of speed to generate wind. Now the engineers of the Navy took that as a challenge. Halaki technology was from the British. The British were not giving much assistance at that time. The engineers took it upon a great challenge, resolved the issues, made the aircraft carrier operational before the war started. And this relentless attack on ports of East Pakistan, Chittagong, Khulna, Chalna, Barishal, all of that resulted in so much destruction and damage. Close to 80, I mean if you take big ships, small ships, merchant ships, the Pakistan Navy that was there, and nearly 60,000, about 57,000 tons of shipping was destroyed. What it meant was a total strangulation of the coast. कोई चिड़िया भी वहां जा नहीं सकता था समंदर से, so no reinforcement, no fuel, no ammunition, nothing else could go to East Pakistan, and as a result of that neither could goods go nor could troops go, and that was a fantastic thing, and that happened right from 4th of December till about the 15th or so. Now all of you have seen the movie called Ghazi attack. A lot of it is fictional, cinematic license, the filmmakers are entitled to that, but basically let me tell you the story. Pakistan had one submarine which it had got from America and which was renamed as the Ghazi. Now Ghazi was the only one which could go far, that means it had endurance to go far. So Indian Navy planners judged very correctly, and Indian intelligence, that this will be used to target Vikrant, because Vikrant was our biggest ship, it was aircraft carrier, it was the flagship. So because of that the Ghazi was sent out to hunt for Vikrant. Everyone knew this. Now look at the master deception plan that people did in the east. What they did was, the eastern fleet and Vikrant were kept off Port Blair, actually Port Cornwallis in the North Andamans, and all drama was made to make it feel that Vikrant is in Vishakhapatnam. So signal traffic was generated, human intelligence was made. One sailor from Vikrant supposedly feigned that he is sent a telegram to his mother about Vikrant's movement. So all of this led the Pakistan Navy to believe that Vikrant is in Vishakhapatnam, and Ghazi was sent to Vishakhapatnam, where now there are speculation about what happened, but she was laying mines, she came under pressure. INS Rajput fired some depth charge rockets, whether because of depth charge, whether it was panic of running over her own mines, whether she hit the ground, jury is out on that, but she met her watery grave. She sank off the port of Vizag, and she sank because of the pressure put by the Indian Navy. Please remember that. So today if you sail out of Vishakhapatnam harbour, even today the Ghazi wreck is a prominent charted mark. I commanded my ship Jalashwa in Vishakhapatnam. Every time we used to go out, if we had VVIPs embark, we had people embark, we would tell them that this is where the wreck of the Ghazi is. So this is, this made it possible. The moment submarine was removed from the scene of action, it made it possible for the Eastern Fleet now to operate with complete freedom and impunity, and that is what they did. We also lost, ladies and gentlemen, the INS Khukri. In war it happens, the enemy is not just sitting, he also sometimes has a favorable exchange at some place. So we lost the INS Khukri. Now remember, physiologically or by scientific deductions, the warm waters of the Indian Ocean favor a submarine more. That is because of the way propagation happens underwater. So a submarine is able to detect a surface ship much earlier than a surface ship is able to detect. So we had 3 anti-submarine frigates, the Khukri, Kirpan and Kuthar. Kuthar was not available due to some maintenance problems, and moment the Navy came to know that there is a Pakistani submarine of due, these 2 frigates, Khukri and Kirpan, were sent to search for Hangor and to prosecute it. But as it happened, Hangor had the advantage, it was more modern and it got these ships before, and it fired torpedoes and the INS Khukri went down. What is important? INS Khukri, led by Captain Mullah, Captain Mahendranath Mullah, they knew that they were going in for what was a difficult mission. Despite that, the resolve, courage and the daringness was there that we will go and do what it takes. When the Khukri was torpedoed, Captain Mullah, who was on the bridge, hurriedly pushed many people out onto the life jackets, had people abandon the ship, but himself went down with the balance crew that was remaining in the highest traditions of war and navy. So he and 195 crew members went down that day on the 9th of December, and we must remember their sacrifice at all times. As I told you earlier, that episode taught us many lessons, one of which was to develop an indigenous sonar. The Khukri sonar was a foreign one. We said we need one for Indian conditions, and we have developed that, and we have done lots of improvement in anti-submarine warfare. But what has also happened, as I told you, it has given rise to one of our best scientists in terms of Dr. Paul Raj. Now, there were some other naval operations also. The Western Fleet operated in the North Arabian Sea. In addition to the missile boats, it completely controlled the North Arabian Sea, so much so that any international ship which was entering Karachi now was taking permission from Indian Navy to enter the harbour. The complete approaches to Pakistan were being controlled by the Indian Navy. We also deployed submarines, 2 submarines in the Arabian Sea, 1 in the Bay of Bengal. They didn't see action, but deploying submarines itself means that you are making the enemy aware and putting them on defensive in many places. So, and remember, we had got our submarines just 2 or 3 years before that in 1968. So, again this was a very good new thing. It gave us war experience. That picture on top is of the INS Khukri that was deployed, and at the bottom is that gentleman Admiral Shekhawat, who was our Chief of Naval Staff in the mid 90s. He was the captain of Karanj during the 71 war, which was sitting off Karachi, and when the new Karanj was commissioned a few years back, 88-year-old Admiral Shekhawat went fit down the submarine hatch and stairs to commission this ship. In the south also, in Kochi, going back to 1971, off Kochi there were some brief operations. Kochi acted as a vital point to prevent the reinforcement from west to east and interception of cargo. Above all, remember, our enmity was not with people of Bangladesh, it was with the authorities of East Pakistan. So, after the liberation of Bangladesh, the Indian Navy actually helped in stabilization. We removed the mines, we helped the ports to come back to order, we cleared the ports, we helped Bangladesh, newly established Bangladesh, to establish their maritime infrastructure. So, the Navy also contributed to post-war stabilization. Now, children, I am going to talk to you about an exciting thing that the Indian Navy did, and many people don't know that. You know, the Indian Navy's diving branch, today you all read commando comics, you know about commandos, and all the 3 armed forces have wonderful commandos. The Navy's commandos are called Marine Commandos or Marcos. You must have heard of them. There are a lot of channels, a lot of videos on YouTube. Please see that. But basically, in 1971, we had not even formed our Marine Commandos. We had formed a small diving branch in the 60s, and those divers became the nucleus of a fantastic operation. What we basically did, as you are all aware, the people of Bangladesh has risen in revolt against the East Pakistan authorities, that had given rise to the Mukti Bahini, people who were fighting on land against the East Pakistan authorities. We trained a water wing of the Mukti Bahini, 400 plus Bangladesh people, and Bangladesh people, because it's a riverine terrain, you know, they are very good swimmers. We trained them to become underwater saboteurs. So, basically उनको क्या करना था, they had to swim underwater, take a mine, a sort of underwater explosive which had to be put on the bottom of the ship and then swim away. After a while that explosive will detonate and the ship will go up in flames or it will explode. So, that was the basic idea. So daredevil assault swimmers from the Mukti Bahini water wing were trained by the Indian Navy in a place called Palashi or Plassey. Remember the Battle of Plassey in 1857? Now remember, Plassey is also famous for this Operation X, Naval Commando Operation X. Now between 15th of August 1971, 3 months before the war, until November, more than 1 lakh tons of shipping was damaged by these underwater saboteurs. It is the biggest saboteur operation after World War II and an unparalleled operation anywhere, unparalleled operation in the world. Now please see the scenario. Inside East Pakistan, complete shipping has been damaged. These ships are sitting, these are the assault swimmers who were trained. You see how poor they were. Many times they didn't even have fins, and they used to use the reed to breathe water, to breathe air from top, to get oxygen and swim underwater and use the tide. Absolutely magnificent. And at all these places, they ships exploded, Chalna, Mungla, Chittagong, Narayanganj, Chandpur. So all their internal riverine ports were completely damaged. Look at this. This is one of the images of a ship that exploded, sank there only. Now when this happens, not only you lose the cargo, you lose the berth also to place ships. And because of this, dar sa mahol ho jata hai. The army there started to look after this, so their attention were diverted from the Indian army coming, and in addition, ships that are coming from outside, they ask for higher insurance to come in. So आप देखिए इस तरह से basically outside the Indian Navy is attacking and letting nothing coming in, and inside the water wing of Mukti Bahini trained by the Indian Navy is created mayhem. So as a consequence of this, as we said, it was a complete choke, a paralytic choke that happened in East Pakistan, which ultimately caused them to lose and to surrender. Now, how was all of this made possible? Children, like I said before, we know many of the army heroes and we must worship them. Certainly, they are worthy of great tribute and respect. But we don't know who in the Navy made all of this possible, and you must try and see, read about them, go on Google, find out. I have flashed a few photographs here. Constraints of time will not permit me to tell about all of them, but a few of them. This is Admiral Chatterjee, who was a CNS before the war. He built the Navy, he bought these missile boat ships from Russia. He was an amazing thinker and visionary. This is Admiral Nanda, the bald man, who is considered, the architect of the 71 victory. He was a man who they say bombed Karachi. He was the Navy chief during 71 war, very, very daredevil in his actions. This is Admiral Krishnan, the third man, who was a scene Visakhapatnam. He is the same man who was in the surrender photograph that you see. Krishnan is a World War II Gallantry Award medal winner. He was also involved in Operation Peace in Junagadh. He was involved in 61 liberation of Diu INS Delhi, which bombarded the Diu fort, and caused the surrender. And in 71 he was in Visakhapatnam directing operations. So we have a whole lot of characters. Like I said, we don't have time. Admiral Kohli was commanding the Western Command, did equally stellar work. This is Captain Mahendranath Mullah, who went down, and his sacrifice is always respected in highest way by the Indian Navy. This is Captain Swaraj Prakash Mahavir Chakra, retired as a Vice Admiral. He was the captain of the INS Vikrant, which caused a great deal of damage. This is Commodore, later Commodore, then Commander Babrubhan Yadav, who led the missile boat attack on Karachi. This is Lieutenant Commander Gupta, S.K. Gupta. He was later retired as Rear Admiral. He launched the aircraft attack. He led the airborne attacks on Karachi. This is Admiral Kuruvilla, led the Western Fleet. This is Admiral Sharma, led the Eastern Fleet. These bottom 2-3 people, Admiral Dawson, naval operations in Delhi. Admiral Roy, He was the architect of this naval commando operations. He was the director of naval intelligence. This is Captain Avati, who commanded one of the Eastern Fleet ships. He also retired as a vice admiral. This is young Lieutenant Commander Norona Mahavir Chakra. He commanded a small ship like Panvel that went right into Khulna Chalna Mongla and caused a lot of damage. A ship of less than 30 meters, which caused a huge amount of damage. He got the Mahavir Chakra. He died a couple of years ago. And these three gentlemen are the principal people who are involved in Operation X. Captain Mohan Narayan Rao Samant, he passed away a couple of years ago. He planned the whole thing from Calcutta and Palashi. This is, Commander Dheer, and this one with the white blazer is Petty Officer Chiman Singh Mahavir Chakra. Now both Dheer sir and Chiman Singh Sahab reside in Delhi and close by, but how many of us know them? These are fantastic characters. These are legendary characters who contributed a great deal to India. So I thought I'll talk a bit about them so that all of you know. So young children, you must know your Navy. You must know your Navy, you must know what it did. We are seeking to popularize it, but all of you, I would request, I would invoke, I would plead that learn a little bit more about the Navy. Navy is not just about the 71 war, it is about Goa liberation, it's about many other things. It is, हम recently कर रहे हैं, Operation Sankalp हमने किया from December last year to March, April this year in the West Arabian Sea, where other multinational navies were hesitating to take action against pirates, against Houthi attacks, and it's the Indian Navy ship that has been in the forefront. Please read about the rescue of a ship called MV Ruen, RUEN from Somalia. It was the Indian Navy that launched para commandos at sea, Indian Navy and Air Force together, and rescued that ship. We also, there were ships that needed assistance, that caught fire, other navies were not coming in. It was the Indian Navy that went and did that. So chahe wo piracy ho, chahe security of our energy ho, remember most of our oil, our petroleum requirements come through or from the sea or go from the sea. We have more than 90% dependence from the seas for our energy, and the Navy is doing all that. Like I said, not just war fighting, but constabulary, maritime security, diplomacy, all of that we do. And that's why I put this Amitabh Bachchan thing. Can you show that slide again? I just wanted that all the young children should know that this is the way that you must remember and know. So it is not just Trident, the correct operation there, but you must know about all the other operations also. That is my request to you. So I will tell you in the last couple of minutes, this 1971 war gave some memorable war quotes, and each of this should find a place in your school. Don't just quote from foreign thinkers and authors. This was Admiral Chatterjee who said, remember in 1968 when the British withdrew west of Suez, he said Indian Navy would be eventually completely in charge of Indian Ocean. By charge he didn't mean in a dadagiri way, he meant as a moderating influence. But look at the vision and ambition of that man. When we were just building a Navy, we were just 20 years after the independence, they had big ideas about what the Navy would do. Captain Swaraj Prakash, I showed you his photograph, commanding the Vikrant on 4th of December morning, they are ready to launch a strike. What happens then? At that time they have a submarine contact. The other ships are sent to search for the submarine. Now Vikrant is in a dilemma, because if a submarine torpedo comes, it might be in danger. So should it abort the mission to fly the aircraft and look for the submarine, or should it continue? All his staff were advising Captain Swaraj Prakash, sir jaane do, baad mein aayenge, let us now take care of this danger. That is when Captain Swaraj Prakash said, I did not join the Navy to come to this point and turn back without attacking, launch the strike. And the strike was launched, damage happened, there was no problem from the submarine, it was neutralized. Admiral Nanda in 1969, sorry that 9 has not appeared, 1969, He said, if we get another chance, we will make the biggest bonfire of Karachi, in an interview to the Blitz magazine. After the Operation Python, the best Diwali gift we have ever got was what Captain Nair said after the Vinash attacks, when they saw Pakistan, Karachi in this big blaze. Though this was December, he said, we have got the best Diwali gift. And above all, the finest quote comes from one of the boiler room sailors of INS Vikrant. When the Navy chief visited Vikrant before the war, as the build-up was happening, he went down, he met the sailors, and he went down to the boiler room, which is at the very sort of bowels of the ship, and he asked this sailor called B. Singh, ki bhai kaise ho, kya ho, theek hu sir. Vikrant had been 6 months away from Bombay and home. He asked, ghar se chitti aati hai? He said, हाँ sir, aati hai. क्या लिखा है घरवाली ने? So that sailor replied, सर घरवाली लिखती है, ढाका जाओगे तो जरूर मलमल लेके आना. Now look at that, look at the morale of that sailor. If a sailor of the Navy has that kind of morale, how can you defeat this Navy? So that is the daring operation of the Navy in 71 war. I want to conclude by saying that in 1971 war, the Navy, having played a slightly limited role in the previous war, came to the party. The Navy's ability to influence outcome was recognized by the nation everywhere. Mrs. Gandhi, all the leaders. There was international acknowledgement, including from Russians, who said, we never imagined we could see the ships used like this. We had lot of second-hand equipment. We showed what we could do, and that led to the new Navy, the Navy of today, which is a daring Navy. A Navy that dares and cares in equal measure today is because of what happened in 71. So these are some of the books I would recommend for reading. I was involved with bringing out this Amar Chitra Katha. It's a 3-volume called The Naval Journey of India. It brings out everything from maritime history to characters of 71 war. Guardians of Sea is about operation in Bay of Bengal, and Operation X is about that special naval commando operations. So please buy them, they are all easily available and you should read them. With that, I would like to thank you young children, thank you ladies and gentlemen for your patient listening. Jai Hind, Bharat Mata ki Jai, Shamno Varan.
Yes, Bharat Mata ki Jai. साथियों, नेवी वीक की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं. दिसंबर 1 से शुरू हो रहा है, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं. डॉक्टर केसनूर, आपने हमारी रोए खड़े कर दिए, हाथ बिल्कुल एक्साइटेड पोजिशन में ला दिया. Yes, you started from 2500 years BC, nearly 4500 years ago, and to the state of the art.
Yes.
I am receiving some questions, and let us talk first more about research, I mean state of the art. हम लोग साइंस के स्टूडेंट हैं.
बिल्कुल,
हम तो साइंस के स्टूडेंट हैं, उसकी बात पहले करेंगे थोड़ा सा. गगनयान, रिसेंटली गगनयान में नेवी एंड कोस्ट गार्ड बोथ टुगेदर हैव बीन असाइन्ड सम पार्टनरशिप इनटू दैट टास्क. प्लीज उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताइए.
Yes, 2 or 3 things.
Yes.
One is that when this module, comes back and lands on the sea, the Navy should be there, because the last thing you want is your astronauts go and do wonderful things in space and come back and they are lost at sea. Because remember, the sea is terribly unforgiving, sea is this one. Now remember, the Navy is always in close touch with the scientists on a lot of issues. When we talk of tracking of weapons and all that, that is there, we're so in Gaganyaan, the basic idea of being involved is that when they come back and land, the Navy and the Coast Guard should be close by, so that they are immediately taken, they are rescued. They may be in different sort of conditions, they may have been exposed to certain things, to keep them in isolation if required, and a whole lot of other marammat that is required when people come back from space. That is one. The second important thing, and this is not known, is that we have a ocean going sailor called Commander Abhilash Tommy, who went around the ocean, and I would recommend that you should call him to speak.
Sure.
A single person circumnavigated the world on a small boat sailing. He was 9 months at sea all alone. So he has been specially roped in to teach and interact with the astronauts how to handle loneliness, how to handle being alone, what are the psychological conditions when you are away from home, earth, family, what do you undergo in terms of your physiological and psychological changes. He has been hired for that. Similarly, I am sure the submariners, the Navy and armed forces are good at this, so they will be able to give certain lessons in that regard. So I think these are the two main.
Yes, these are the major roles. Before I come with the Navy and Coast Guard, so you talked about submarines.
Yeah.
See, I myself has been a student of physics, and we have been worked for underwater acoustics mechanisms. How do the present system works to communicate with the submarine from the ship or from the land?
See, communication with submarines, as you know, is always a problem because the propagation of light is dramatically declines. So the only way submarines used to communicate earlier was that they used to come to what is called the periscope depth.
Yes.
And they used to put a little antenna. Hydrophone bhi tha.
Yes.
But at periscope depth you can put an antenna for HF or VUHF communication.
Yes.
And if you are within VUHF range, you get VUHF. Otherwise you are within HF range, you make. The problem with making an HF transmission is you can be detected because there are other people. Yes. You can be seen, and by that the submarine location can be known. Yes. In fact, that is how Hangor's location was detected in 71 war. So you have to be very, very careful. तो normally क्या होता है, submarines को हमेशा order दिया जाता है और उनको one way communication होता है कि हम shore से ये करें. But recent advances have made it possible that submerged submarines can trail a wire and from that receive on VLF, very low frequency, and ELF. So if you transmit at sufficiently high power, submerged submarines can communicate to and fro on VLF and ELF, and you will be proud to know that India is amongst the few nations that is doing this.
I give you another matter of pride.
Yeah.
India is also a part of international systems who are working for exciting the ultrasonic waves on the surface using the laser radiations. So the microwave laser radiations will fall on the system, those will be modulated around that, and from there the thermoacoustic arrays can be generated, and those can reach travel to the submarine for say 4 kilometers distance or so in the water. So that is
that's fantastic.
India is a part of that study.
Yeah.
And
I think you will have noticed that the partnership between scientists and science and technology in Indian Navy is getting better and better every day.
Yes,
and we will have indigenous solutions to all our problems.
Yes, we performed some experiments for that in the lake of Indore.
Yes.
In the lake of Indore at CAT. I was also a part of it. But we are receiving some more questions. Though before I
so
take
we are
up
running
Harpreet.
short of time, but it was very motivating account that you shared with us. Thank you for the same. You also talked about some divers from Mukti Wahini who damaged the ships in Bangladesh. Now I have this question that we see nations coming together and doing joint defense exercises. Here we are talking about sometimes in seas and oceans. What is the significance of the same?
See, there are several significances. One of them is when you exercise together, you are building trust. That's the most important thing. You don't exercise together with enemy nations or with antagonistic nations. You exercise together with friends, with partners, you are building trust. The second is you are doing at operational level interoperability. अगर कल हमको साथ में लड़ाई लड़ना पड़े तो आपके इक्विपमेंट और हमारे इक्विपमेंट के बीच में तालमेल कैसा होगा, that is important.
So we exchange technologies also?
That depends on who is the partner.
Okay.
It has to be specific.
Okay.
You can't have a blanket thing, but there is a certain exchange at every level, and that's called interoperability.
Right.
So you are trying to establish operational interoperability, strategic friendship and partnership.
All right, great.
सब एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा सवाल है
बिल्कुल
कि एक तो यह है कि जो कोई पुराना जहाज डिकमीशन होता है तो उसी नाम से दूसरा जहाज कमीशन होता है नया.
या
दूसरा इसी के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है कि जब भी कोई नया जहाज सेल किया जाता है
Yes.
तो किसी वुमेन के द्वारा किया जाता है.
हाँ.
इसकी क्या स्टोरी है?
नहीं, सेल नहीं, लॉन्च
launch
जब करते हैं
अच्छा.
तो वुमेन से करते हैं. और वन ऑफ कोर्स इज दैट द शिप इज कंसिडर्ड अ शी, एंड इट्स अप्रोप्रिएट टू हैव अ वुमन, यू नो. वेस्ट में उसके हल पे शैंपेन बॉटल फोड़ते हैं, हम नारियल करते हैं बिकॉज इट्स ऑस्पिशियस फॉर अस. एंड ऑल्सो अदरवाइज the ship, at least in olden days, used to be surrounded by men. So having a woman launch it gave then this one. We also invoke Aditi. See, Varuna is the lord of the oceans. Aditi is supposed to be his benefactor's mother. So you are invoking the mother goddess in some way. So all of this makes it essential and necessary. It's a good tradition.
It's a good tradition.
Yeah.
So it's all round across the world, or
in different ways. In different ways, we launch a ship with a lady.
With the lady, yes.
The commissioning is by the captain of the ship.
Right.
I see.
This has to be emphasized. The commissioning of a ship is by the captain in the presence of some high dignitaries, president, prime minister.
That's lovely.
And you are right, we rename ships, usually we take,
Yes.
जैसे हमारे इंडियन फैमिलीज में होता है, हम मानते हैं कि टाइम स्पेस का एक कंटिन्यूम होता है.
Absolutely.
You know.
And sir, now we're running short of time, sir. So we have to wrap the session over here. And very quickly, sir, would you like to share who's coming next?
Next, friends. Before that, I mean, we will definitely take Dr. Avinash Kohli Sahab. You said that
Abhilash Tommy.
Abhilash Tommy. Sorry. Okay, I will take the connections. We will definitely take next. My dear friends, अभी थोड़ा समुद्र से एक वीक के लिए बाहर निकलते हैं और हम हिस्ट्री पर जाते हैं. कौटिल्य हमारे देश के एक जाने माने कैरेक्टर हैं. चाणक्य, विष्णुगुप्त उन्हीं का नाम है. उनके बारे में बात करने के लिए मेरे दोस्त प्रणव पटेल IIT खड़गपुर से आ रहे हैं, जो कि एक बहुत बड़े एंटरप्रेन्योर भी हैं. तो ही विल बी कमिंग हियर ऑन 6th of December, Friday. So please tune in with us on Friday, 6th of December next week, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and he will be speaking on exploring the depths of Kautilya's Arthashastra, या कौटिल्य अर्थशास्त्र की एक झलक.
Right.
So thank you very much, friends.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kesnur. Thank you so much once again. Dr. Gagan, thank you so much for your beautiful contribution, and what a journey that was. Now it's time for me to wrap up today's session. Of course, in this webinar series, Listening to Learn, in today's 91st edition, we talked about 1971 war, daring operations of Indian Navy, and we all got goosebumps for sure. And now it's time for me to wrap up this session. But before I leave, it's time to take a look at the schedule, all the programs that are coming ahead. So here's the live schedule in front of you. In a short while from now, you can watch a session of ours on social science that will be about growing up as boys and girls. From 2 p.m. onwards, we will bring you our session Paricharcha that you can watch on YouTube channel NCERT official and on PME Vidya channels. Apart from that, simultaneously at 2 p.m. we will bring you a session in Hindi followed by a session in sciences, and of course at 3 p.m. we will get you a session on mathematics. We will talk about surface areas and volumes. At 3:30 p.m. we will talk about Samajik Vigyan, and from 4 to 5 p.m. we will be having online training session where we are going to talk about the responsibilities of AI. From 5 to 5:30 we will bring you Sahyog, and from 5:30 p.m. to 6:15 onwards we will bring you a session specially made for the school heads of the country by NCSL NEPA. With that, it's a wrap. This is me, Harpreet Kaur, taking leave of you. Namaskar.